Venezuela's acting president Delcy Rodriguez called for national unity and economic diversification to defend the country's sovereignty against external aggression. While receiving Wednesday the formal notification by the country's National Assembly of the beginning of the new six-year legislative term 2026-2031, Rodriguez called on all political sectors, including the opposition, to move forward in unity and heal the wounds caused by extremism. On economic matters, she emphasized that although the United States is the destination for 27% of exports, the country will continue to diversify its markets with the public and private sectors throughout the world. Finally, the acting head of state underscored that sovereignty and independence are supreme values for the Republic and highlighted the importance of moving forward with new legal frameworks for the country's development.
I want to emphasize something because there is currently a lot of communication surrounding Venezuela-United States relations.
Lo primero que debo decir es que hay una mancha en nuestras relaciones que nunca.
The first thing I must say is that there is a stain on our relations that has never occurred in our history. But it should also be noted that it is not extraordinary or irregular.
Económicos, comerciales entre los Estados Unidos y Venezuela.
For example, 71% of Venezuela's exports are concentrated in 8 countries, and of that 71%, 27% are destined for the United States.
In this context, the President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, assured that in the midst of difficult times, the main commitment is to defend the independence and the right of the people to live at peace.
In these difficult, turbulent, painful times that our Republic is experiencing, we are determined to defend the most sacred things we have, our independence, to defend our sacred territory,
nuestra independencia, defender nuestro sagrado territorio,
defending our people's right to live freely, to live in peace, to live with the greatest treasure bequeathed to us by the liberator of America, Simón Bolívar, which is freedom and independence.
la libertad y la independencia.
Rodriguez also informed about the 6 major areas that the legislative power will be focused on during the new term, highlighting the defense of the Venezuelan people as a fundamental one.
Quiero extenderme de manera excesiva.
I don't want to go on too long, but we are going to focus the efforts of the legislative branch on 6 major areas: the achievement and implementation of peace, the pursuit and achievement of economic growth and prosperity for the Republic, the consolidation of the people's power plans that had already been proposed at the time and had already been rapidly developed by President Nicolás Maduro.
El fortalecimiento de nuevas modalidades de acción.
The strengthening of new modalities of economic actions, specifically the efforts that has been put into the new enterprises, and how the National Assembly has accompanied that effort, developing innovative legislative instruments to collaborate, and a fundamental element, the defense of Venezuelans, the defense of peace, and the defense of the lives of our compatriots.
Venezuelan Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, informed on Wednesday that at least 100 people were killed in the United States military attack of January 3rd. In this regard, Diosdado Cabello strongly condemned the military attack by the U.S. government on the South American country and emphasized that these actions had repercussions on the civilian population. He also denounced that the United States violated all the rules of international coexistence and pointed out that the whole world knows that Nicolás Maduro is a prisoner of war. The voices of experts from the United Nations have joined the global condemnation by heads of state, governments and the peoples of the world to condemn the United States attack on Venezuela. They assert that the United States is a threat to world peace. It is the technical opinion of the organization's specialist in international law and human rights. They assert that the attack that caused the death of 100 people, as revealed by the Venezuelan government, represents a serious manifest and deliberate violation of the most fundamental principles of international law, and sets a dangerous precedent and risks destabilizing the region and the world. They also warned those who participated in this action that it could constitute an international crime of aggression attributable to the political leaders and military personnel involved. Through a statement, the United Nations experts expressed these actions represent a grave, manifest and deliberate violation of the most fundamental principles of international law, set a dangerous precedent and risk destabilizing the entire region and the world. United Nations experts also express Venezuela's vast natural resources, including the largest proven oil reserves in the world, must not be cynically exploited through thinly veiled pretext to legitimize military aggression, foreign occupation, or regime change strategies. The statement emphasized the future of Venezuela must be determined by the Venezuelan people alone, in full sovereignty, through dialogue and accountability, ensuring the meaningful and equal participation of women in all decision-making processes. The communiqué concludes, we urge United Nations member states to condemn the aggression by the United States and act decisively to halt all actions contrary to international law. Also in this context, results of a survey conducted by the International Market Research and Data Analytics firm YouGov revealed a growing public opposition in the United States to its recent military intervention in Venezuela. According to the survey, 46% of respondents disapproved of the U.S. operation against the South American nation, while 39% was in favor. The results contrast dramatically with the support registered during the invasion of Panama in 1989, when an overwhelming 82% of U.S. citizens supported the arrest of then-ruler Manuel Antonio Noriega following a military intervention. The gap between the two polls shows a significant change in public perception and suggests a greater questioning of Washington's interventionist policies in Latin America compared to previous decades. On Thursday, in South Africa, people gathered in front of the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria in solidarity with Venezuela, demanding the release of President Nicolás Maduro and first combatant Cilia Flores. A broad coalition of South African trade unions, political parties, civil society organizations, also solidarity movements, led the protest condemning U.S. interference in the internal affairs of sovereign states. In this scenario, protesters chanted "Free Maduro" and "Hands off Venezuela" in response to the U.S. military attack on Venezuela and the kidnapping of President Nicolás Maduro and first combatant Cilia Flores. The protesters denounced the illegal actions orchestrated by President Donald Trump and rejected the violation of the dispositions of international law. Also during the homage paid to the 32 Cuban citizens killed by the United States military in the January 3rd attack on Venezuela, Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez expressed a rejection of the Cuban people to the threats of the U.S. imperialism against the country.
Now
they are saying that Cuba is next. We tell them to remember the Cuban people through their history, and that today, like Maceo, we tell them that whoever attempts to seize Cuba will gather only the dust of its soil soaked in blood if they do not perish in the fight.
The Chinese government condemned on Thursday the hegemonic actions of the United States regarding Venezuela and reaffirmed its commitment to deepening economic and trade relations with the South American nation.
The hegemonic actions of the United States seriously violate international law, infringe Venezuela's sovereignty, and threaten peace and security in the Latin American region. China firmly opposes this. Economic and trade cooperation between China and Venezuela is cooperation between sovereign states, protected by international law and the laws of both countries, and no other country has the right to interfere. Regardless of changes in Venezuela's political situation, China's commitment to deepening economic and trade relations with Venezuela will not change.
In Paris, French farmers are heading a protest over a free trade agreement between the European Union and Mercosur and the way the government is handling a cattle disease. Farmers from the Coordination Rural Union called for the demonstration that entered the center of Paris on Thursday, while blocking sides of the French capital in protest against a free trade agreement the European Union is set to. Venezuela's acting president Delcy Rodriguez called for national unity and economic diversification to defend the country's sovereignty against external aggression, while receiving Wednesday the formal notification by the country's National Assembly of the beginning of the new six-year legislative term 2026-2031, Rodriguez called on all political sectors, including the opposition, to move forward in unity and heal the wounds caused by extremism. On economic matters, she emphasized that although the United States is the destination for 27% of exports,